Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws Gunslingers Mafia Edition. Coming back to you for Meyer Lansky, although technically not a Genovese member per se, but he did work closely with Luciano and all those guys, and Bugsy Siegel most notably. Should have probably done him before all these guys, but no better time to do it because he's in everybody's story that we're about to do here and have done. So could have. I mean, he was in the bootlegging trade, but
there's a movie that came out in 2021 called
Lansky.
You guys need to check it out. Goes in depth. Pretty good show. Usually those mobster shows. Usually those mobster movies, they don't.
Who was in that?
I forget who it was. There's another one too. It's called.
We'll talk about it at the end of this episode, actually.
Called Bugsy or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of them. But you're going to have to bear with us on these Genovese, the rest of this Genovese family, because a lot of these guys that are in their family that even have profiles, they literally have two. I mean, it's the Mafia, man. You're not going to get a lot of stories out of it. Sites like History of the Mafia and Mafia Museum and all that shit. Even Meyer Lansky, the Mafia Museum, had 2 paragraphs on them. None of them really go in depth on this shit.
Unless you read
a whole book that's 1,000 pages, but obviously ain't got time to do that. So we'll take what we can get. And Mr. Meyer Lansky, born Meyer, Mayer, Suchaljansky, on July 4th of 1902. He's known as the mob's accountant.
Of course he does. I wonder why.
Right. Him, along with Charles Lucky Luciano, was instrumental in the development of the National Crime Syndicate in the United States. Like I said, he was born on the 4th of July, 1902, in Grodno, Russian Empire, which is now Belarus. Or is it Belarus or Belarus?
Belarus.
To a Polish Jewish family who experienced anti-Semitism and pogroms from imperial authorities. What is a pogrom? It is a violent riot incited with the aim of massacring or expelling a group of ethnics.
Damn.
Okay. And this is in Belarus, 1902?
Damn.
When asked about his native country, Lansky always responded Poland. 1911, Lansky immigrated to the United States through Port of Odessa with his mother and brother Jacob and joined his father, who had immigrated in 1909, settled on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York. What is it with the dads always coming first? They got to come over and get the life settled before they...
It's usually how it always was.
You'd think you would take your kids and family. Who knows what the hell's happened to them back in the country? Old country.
You ain't kidding. Lansky met Bugsy when they were children. They became lifelong friends after that, as well as partners in the bootlegging trade. Together, they managed the Bugs and Meyer mob and its reputation as one of the most violent prohibition gangs ever. Lansky was also close friends with, you guessed it, Lucky Luciano. The two met as teenagers when Lucky attempted to extort Lansky for protection money on his walk home from school. He was like, shit. Luciano respected the younger boy's defiant responses to his threats, and the two formed a lasting partnership thereafter.
He's like, hey, this Jew stands up for himself. I like him.
Look at you.
The two of them would go on to associate with veteran gangster Arnold Rothstein up until his murder in 1928. Luciano had a vision to form a national crime syndicate in which the Italian, Jewish, and Irish gangs could pool their resources and turn organized crime into a lucrative business for all. An organization he founded after a conference in Atlantic City, which we covered, which him, Lansky, Johnny Torrio, and Frank Costello put on in May of 1929.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Johnny Torrio. There's another guy. Famous, you've heard his name 1,000 times, but his story's nothing.
Nothing.
I mean,
crazy.
It's just stupid.
It's crazy.
Unless your name is Lucky Luciano or... probably, I'm sure John Gotti's got a pretty good
you already
page,
know that.
but other than that,
John Gotti Jr.'s probably got a bigger page than this guy, Lansky.
One of his John Gotti Jr.'s sons is boxing now.
Yeah,
and just lost, and then one of his sisters put on social media that she was coming after the dude's wife or some shit. I'm like, okay, guys,
right. By 1936, Lansky established gambling operations in Florida. Netherlands, and Cuba. These gambling operations were successful as they were founded upon two innovations. Foist, Lansky and his connections had the technical expertise to manage them effectively, based upon Lansky's knowledge of the mathematical odds of most popular wagering games. Dos, mob connections, as well as bribe law enforcements. Yeah, they were used to ensure legal and physical security over their establishments from other crime figures and law enforcements. That's
Right.
I mean, you got to have those too.
There was also an absolute rule of integrity concerning the games and wagers made within their establishments. Lansky's carpet joints in Florida and elsewhere were never clip joints, where gamblers were unsure of whether or not the games were rigged against them.
Oh.
They're tricked into paying far above market prices for low-grade goods or services.
Yeah, like strip
Usually
clubs.
happens in strip clubs, right? Nasty-ass women. And, right. Lansky ensured that the staff administrating the games were men of high integrity. 1946, Lansky convinced the Italian American Mafia to place Siegel in charge of Las Vegas and became a major investor of Siegel's Flamingo Hotel, which, indirectly, you got your best friend killed, Lansky.
To protect himself from type of prosecution which sent Al Capone to prison for tax evasion and prostitution, Meyer Lansky transferred illegal earnings from his growing casino empire to a Swiss bank account, where anonymity was assured by the 1934 Swiss Banking Act.
Which says bank secrecy.
Right, you
You can't give away whose bank accounts are here.
Can't do it.
I'm pretty sure that's not liable anymore, though.
HIPAA Act.
I don't think that's liable because Swiss banks have been shut down multiple times.
The Deutsche Bank.
Or the Deutsche, yeah.
Meyer Lansky eventually bought an offshore bank in Switzerland, so he
Bought his own damn bank.
damn right, which he used to launder money through a network of shell and holding companies.
All right, good for him. In the 1930s, Lansky and his gang stepped outside their usual criminal activities to break up rallies held by the pro-Nazi German-American Bund. He recalled a particular rally in Yorkville, which was a German neighborhood in Manhattan that he and 14 other associates disrupted. He said the stage was decorated with a swastika and a picture of Adolf Hitler. The speakers started ranting. There were only 15 of us, but we went into action. We threw some of them out the windows. Most of the Nazis panicked and ran out. We chased them and beat them up. We wanted to show them that Jews would not always sit back and accept insults.
That was a very good scene in the movie, too, if you guys watch it. Very good scene. Good stuff there. During World War II, Lansky was also instrumental in helping the Office of Naval Intelligence, Operation Underworld, in which the government recruited criminals to watch out for the German infiltrators and submarine-born saboteurs. Meyer Lansky helped arrange a deal with the government via a high-ranking United States Navy official. This deal secured the release of Luciano from prison, sent him back to Italy. In exchange for the Mafia would provide security of the warships that were being built along the docks in New York Harbor. We went through that with Lucky's story.
Sure did. German submarines were sinking Allied ships in great numbers along the eastern seaboard and the Caribbean coast, and there was a great fear of attack or sabotage by Nazi sympathizers. Lansky
Dude, man, back then, I can see it like in the 50s and 60s, the Nazi sympathizers and all that, but in the 30s and 40s, man, no way they would survive in a week. Especially in New York and Philadelphia and Boston.
You think so?
Man. I mean, I can see it down in like South Carolina or Georgia or something.
What do you mean? New York and all that area is known for their German population. Look how many of those from New York in the Civil War were German regiments and shit.
Very true. So, Pennsylvania, too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Even Michigan.
Right. Yeah, but they weren't sympathizers.
You don't know that. How many people from 1930s that lived around here, especially, were Nazi sympathizers? We don't know.
Yeah, especially around here.
Right. They loved Germany. They had a whole damn town after it.
Yeah, the whole town was a bunch of Hitler lovers.
Probably. I bet you. Bet you there were some Nazi flags at some of those shop windows back in the day.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Right. Lansky connected with the ONI with Luciano, who reportedly instructed Joseph Lanza to prevent sabotage on the New York waterfront.
Meyer Lansky attended a secret meeting in Havana in 1946. He did that to discuss Siegel's management of the Flamingo Hotel, which they were all pretty disappointed in the guy.
Yeah.
And see, because Siegel was running far behind schedule and costing Siegel's Mafia investors a great deal of money. He's like, this dude, I mean, come on, they had to give him some time. He's out in the middle of a desert trying to get people to come gamble.
Literally a town that had nothing.
Right.
He was the first casino.
Right.
I mean,
jeez. Well, the other bosses wanted to kill Bugsy.
Well, we already established, too, that Siegel was skimming money. And
of course, he had to.
Right.
Shit.
Right.
Meyer Lansky begged them to give his friend a second chance. He was like, come on.
Come on.
I've known him since he was a kid. Come on, I'll pay what he did, whatever the difference is.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, come on, you ever hear that of a Jewish guy?
Right. Jewish guy offering to give more money? No.
Right. Despite the reprieve, Bugsy continued to lose money on the Flamingo. Its second meeting was then called. By the time this meeting occurred, the casino had toyed a small profit. Hey. Lansky, with Luciano's support, convinced the other investors to give Siegel some more time.
One more time, guys. Come on. We're getting a little bit here.
Starting to get some in.
Well, unfortunately for Bugsy, the hotel started losing money again, and the investors decided that Siegel was finished.
I mean, you don't have to kill the guy.
Right, dude.
I don't understand.
Jeez, you're losing money. Pay. It is widely believed that Lansky himself was compelled to give the final okay on eliminated Siegel due to his long relationship with him and his stature in the organization.
Right.
June 20th, 1947, Siegel was shot and killed. Shot right through his eye in Beverly Hills, California.
For one, he's supposed to be managing a hotel in Las Vegas, and he's in Beverly Hills.
Right. What the hell are you doing? Well, he was at his Guma's house.
Right.
20 minutes after the Siegel hit, Lansky's associates, including Gus Greenbaum, that's a Jew, and Mo Sedway, probably a Jew, walked into the Flamingo and took control of the hotel.
Man, it's
ours now, boys.
Yep.
According to the FBI, Lansky retained a substantial financial interest in the Flamingo for the next 20 years. Of course he did. Lansky said in several interviews later in his life that if it had been up to him, Ben Siegel would be alive today.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
I mean,
It's pretty much have him killed or they'll kill you too.
Right. He had enough respect from the bosses where they'd listen to him.
Well, plus it was Lucky.
Right. And Lucky didn't like Bugsy at all. Bugsy's death marked a power transfer in Vegas from New York's five families to the Chicago outfit. Although his role was considerably more restrained than in previous years, Meyer Lansky is believed to have both advised and aided Chicago boss Tony Accardo in initially establishing his hold.
Good for him, huh? After World War II now, as a reward for his wartime service, Luciano's sentence was commuted to time served, and on condition of that agreement, he was shipped off to Italy.
Yep.
Upon arriving in Italy, Luciano settled in Sicily. Then he secretly moved to Cuba, where he worked to resume control over mafia operations. Luciano also, what is this, a Luciano story now? Right. Luciano also ran a number of casinos in Cuba with the sanction of Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista.
Which we said.
Right. Upon discovering Luciano's presence in Cuba and resumption of criminal activity, the U.S. government pressured the Batista regime in deporting Luciano to Italy. And pretty sure they, stopped importing stuff to Cuba until they did.
Right.
Then they were like, okay.
All right. Batista and Meyer Lansky formed a renowned friendship and business relationship that lasted for about a decade. During a stay at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York in the late 1940s, it was mutually agreed upon that in exchange for kickbacks, Fulgencio would offer Meyer Lansky the mafia control of the country's casinos and racetracks. He's like, you can have my casinos and racetracks if you give me some kickbacks. And Lansky was like, done. Batista would open Havana to a large-scale gambling, and his government would match dollar for dollar any hotel investment, any hotel investment over $1 million. Damn. Because he knew, man, this shit's going to bring in some money, which would include a casino license as well.
Oh, nice. So you put $1 million up, the government's got $1 million.
And then you get a casino license.
All right.
That's fantastic. Lansky would place himself at the center of Cuba's gambling operations after that. He immediately called on his associates to hold a summit in Havana.
Well, this Havana conference, which we covered along with the Atlantic City conference, was held on December 22nd, 1946 at the Hotel Nacional. This was the first full-scale meeting of American underworld leaders since the Chicago meeting in 1932. Mm-hmm. I thought it was Atlantic City. Now there was a Chicago one. I think they meant Atlantic City. Right. Present were such figures as Joe Adonis, Albert the Mad Hatter, Anastasia. We should probably do Anastasia, too. Frank Costello, Joseph Joe Bananas Bonanno, Vito Genovese, Mo Dalitz, Thomas Lucchese from New York, Santo Trafficante Jr. from Tampa, Carlos Marcello from New Orleans, and Stefano Magadino, who was Bonanno's cousin from Buffalo. That's my cousin from Buffalo. From Chicago, there were Ricardo and the Fischetti brothers, Trigger Happy Charlie and Rocco. Trigger Happy Charlie. And representing the Jewish interest was Lansky, Dalitz, and Dandy Phil Castle from Florida.
Oh, Dandy Phil.
Oh, Dandy Phil.
That's fantastic. The first to arrive was Lucky, who had secretly traveled to Havana with a false passport.
Why would he need a false passport? He's banned from going, or did they say he had to live in Italy probably and not leave?
I don't think so, yeah. Lansky shared with the attendees his vision of a new Havana, profitable for those willing to invest the right sum of money. According to Luciano, the only attendee who ever recounted the events in any detail, he was appointed as kingpin for the mob. According to Luciano, the only attendee who have ever recounted the events in any detail, he was appointed as kingpin for the mob. He was to rule from Cuba until such time as he could find a legitimate way back to the United States. Entertainment at the conference was provided by, among others, Frank Sinatra, who flew to Cuba with his friends, the Fischietti brothers.
All right, good for him. 1952, Lansky offered then-President Carlos Prio...
Didn't Frank Sinatra have somebody killed or something like that?
I don't know, did he?
Yeah, I think so. And the mobs did it. The mobsters did it.
He ordered a mob hit on Howard Stern, apparently.
Yeah, and Woody Allen.
He received a very strong warning by Mr. Sinatra. He told Woody Allen, I can have you killed, mother effer.
He could.
Why would he... 1952, Lansky offered then-President Carlos Prio Sacaras a bribe of $250,000 to step down so Batista could return to power. Once Batista retook control of the government in a military coup in March 52, they had to plan it like that.
Right.
He quickly put gambling back on track. Yeah, because the other guy didn't like it.
No.
Batista offered Lansky an annual salary of $25,000 in 1952, pretty damn good, to serve as an unofficial gambling minister.
Nice.
By 1955, he had changed the gambling laws once again, granted a gaming license to anyone who invested $1 million in a hotel or $200,000 in a new nightclub.
Nice.
Unlike the procedure for acquiring gaming licenses in Vegas, this provision exempted venture capitalists from background checks. Right, so anybody can just go in there and do whatever the hell they want.
Hey, whatever, man. Whatever. As long as they made the required investment, they were provided with public matching funds for construction, a 10-year exemption and duty-free importation of equipment and furnishing.
Wow.
Nice. A 10-year tax exemption, dude. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the United States does 7 years.
For new businesses?
For
overseas?
Yeah.
Oh, it better be longer than that.
If, like, anybody from, like, Jordan or Afghanistan comes here, opens a store, they don't pay no taxes for
then,
like 7 years.
But then they sign it over to somebody else.
Right. So they never ever pay taxes, basically.
Crazy.
It's nuts. The government would get $250,000 for this license, plus a percentage of the profits from each casino. Cuba's 10,000 slot machines, even the ones that dispense small prizes for children at country fairs, were to be the province of Batista's brother-in-law, Roberto Fernandez y Miranda, brother of his wife, Marta Fernandez Miranda de Batista. Damn.
Okay. Look at these guys, dude. Imagine the government getting a cut of casino money in Vegas.
Wow. What'd they do?
Well, right. Not legally, though. Maybe. I don't know. Cuban Army General and Government Sports Director Fernandez was also given the parking meters in Havana as an extra bonus. Damn. You know, those parking everything, a meter and everything.
Damn right.
Import duties were waived on materials for hotel construction, and Cuban contractors with the right in made windfalls by importing much more than what was needed and selling the surplus to others for hefty profit.
Damn right.
Damn.
Shit.
It was rumored that besides the $250,000 to get a license, sometimes more was required under the table. Periodic payoffs were requested and received by corrupt politicians. Lansky set about reforming the Cabaret Montmartre, which soon became the inn place in Havana.
Nice.
That's where all the gangsters was.
Fantastic. Lansky also installed a casino in the Hotel Nacional, relying on the support Batista to overcome objections of other American expatriates, including Ernest Hemingway.
Damn, Ernest Hemingway tried to get in the casino game, huh?
Yeah, everybody was. Once all the new hotels and nightclubs and casinos had been built, Batista wasted no time collecting his share of the profits. Nightly, the bag man for his wife, Marta, collected 10% of the profits at the Traficante's interest. The San Suchi Cabaret and the casinos in the Sevilla Biltmore, the Comodoro, the Deauville, and the Capri hotels. Damn. Batista's take from the Lansky's casinos, his prize Havana Riviera, the Nacional, Montmartre, and others. Was said to be about 30%.
Damn, 30%. And all of them.
Oh, shit. What exactly Batista and his cronies actually received in total in the way of bribes, payoffs, and profiteering has never been certified. Of course not. Slot machines alone contributed approximately $1 million to the regime's bank account.
And that's a lot of money in 52 or whatever.
It's a lot of money in nickels.
Now. Well, right. The 1959 Cuban Revolution, there you go, with the rise of Fidel Castro changed the climate for mob investment in Cuba. Fidel said, I want everything you guys are going to operate here. You're getting no profits.
Right.
On New Year's Eve, 1958, while Batista was preparing to flee to the Dominican Republic, Lansky was celebrating the $3 million he made in the first year of operations at his 440 room, $8 million palace, the Habana Rivera. Many of the casinos, including several Lansky's, were looted and destroyed that night.
Of course they were.
January 8, 1959, Castro and his revolutionaries took control of Havana, setting up a command post in the Hilton. Lansky had fled the day before. He said, "Get the hell out of here." Damn, and that's the fall of Cuba, dude.
Wow. Well, the new Cuba.
I wonder why you go to Cuba and all you literally see is all 1950s and 40s cars.
Right.
Because nothing could be imported there afterwards.
Fantastic. The new Cuban president, Manuel Leao, he took steps to close all casinos. October 1960, Castro nationalized all the island's hotel casinos and outlawed.
Because it's an island casino. It's an island casino.
Right. This action essentially wiped out Lansky's asset base and the revenue streams. He lost an estimated $7 million, equivalent to $50.5 million in 2021.
Wow.
With the additional crackdown on casinos in Miami, Lansky was forced to depend on his Vegas revenues.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry.
Lansky sought compensation for the losses in Cuba from the U.S. government. I mean, he had legal operations.
Right.
Lansky is credited with having controlled compromising pictures of a sexual nature featuring former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover with his longtime aide Clyde Tolson. Yeah, that's been a rumor forever. Mm-hmm. In his book, Official and Confidential, The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover, biographer Anthony Summers cites multiple primary sources regarding Lansky's use of blackmail to gain influence with politicians, policemen, and judges. One such stage for the acquisition of blackmail materials were orgies held by late attorney and Lansky protege Roy Cohn and liquor magnate Louis Rosenstyle, who had lasting ties with the mafia from his bootlegging operations during the Prohibition.
Right.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Edgar Hoover's over there blowing everybody, probably.
Dirty. He was a terrible FBI agent and
Right.
terrible straight man. The release of FBI files on Meyer Lansky revealed extensive monitoring and investigation, which makes it harder to explain why Meyer Lansky was not pursued to conviction, unless he successfully evaded it by blackmail.
Bet.
Cohn.
So if he did that, why didn't he just help all his buddies too?
Right. Well, Cohn copied this model, blackmail, control politicians, and evaded conviction himself.
Good for him.
1970, Meyer Lansky fled to Herzliya, Petua, Israel.
Be amongst his people.
Right, to escape federal tax evasion charges in the United States of America. At this very time, Israeli law did not permit the extradition of Jews, and under the law of return, any Jew may legally settle in the state of Israel. Because you're allowed to come back, baby. It's always open for you. The Israeli government reserved discretion to exclude Jews with a criminal past from permanently settling in the country, though. Is that cool? That's cool.
All right. Well, not for Lansky.
Right. 2 years after his arrival, Lansky was deported back to the United States. The federal government brought Lansky to trial with the testimony of a loan shark called Vincent Fat Vinny Teresa. Lansky was acquitted, though, in 1974.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it took 2 years to do the trial.
I mean, probably delayed it as long as possible. Lansky retired in Miami after this. His last years were spent quietly at his home in Miami Beach, Florida. He died of lung cancer on January 15, 1983 at the age of 80, leaving a widow and 3 children. On paper, his net worth was almost nothing. At the time, the FBI believed he left behind over $300 million in hidden bank accounts, but they never found any money. This would be equivalent to today almost $700 million.
It's somewhere.
Oh, definitely. Got all those offshore accounts, man.
Right. Yeah, his kids know exactly. Lansky's biographer, Robert Lacey, describes his financially strained circumstances in the last 2 decades of his life and his inability to pay for health care for his handicapped son. Well, maybe he didn't have no money. Who eventually died in poverty.
Or maybe he had to keep up the charade and be like, sorry, son.
Hey, bud.
All right.
For Lacey, though, there was no evidence to sustain the notion of Lansky as king of all evil, the brains, the secret mover, the inspirer and controller of American organized crime. He was not the capo dei tutti. Was that what it was?
Capo dei tutti capi?
Yeah, capo dei tutti capi, boss of all boss. But he was.
He was the financer, or the accountant. So-called.
Lacey concludes from evidence, including interviews with the surviving members of the family, that Lansky's wealth and influence had been grossly exaggerated. His second wife's granddaughter told author T.J. English that at the time of his death in 1983, Lansky left only $57,000 in cash. equivalent to $132,000 in 2021.
I mean, it's a decent amount of money, man. When asked in his later years what went wrong in Cuba, the gangster offered no excuses. He says, I crapped out. Mm-hmm. Lansky told people that he had lost almost every penny in Cuba and that he was barely scraping by. Oh, poor guy. Hank Messick, a journalist for the Miami Herald who had spent years investigating Lansky, I'm surprised he didn't die, said that the key to understanding Lansky lay with the people around him. He says, Meyer Lansky doesn't own property, he owns people. To him, the FBI and Manhattan District Attorney Robert Morgenthau, the reality was that Lansky had kept large sums of money in other people's names for decades, and that keeping very little on his own was nothing new to him. Okay.
The year is 2010. Lansky's daughter Sandra publicly stated that her father had transferred some $15 million to his brother's account sometime in the early 70s when Lansky was having problems with the IRS. How much money Lansky was really worth would probably never be known. Since the warming of relations, I mean, don't they have bank records to see if he actually put that $15 million in?
Right. Maybe it was through somebody else, though.
Right. Since the warming of relations between the United States and Cuba in 2015, old Lansky's grandson, Gary Rappaport, has been asking the Cuban government to compensate him for the confiscation of the Riviera Hotel that his grandfather built in Havana.
Good luck with that, buddy.
I mean, he kind of does deserve it.
Is it still standing?
I'm sure.
Right. The character Hyman Roth, portrayed by Lee Strasberg, and certain aspects of the main character Michael Corleone from the film Godfather Part 2 are based on Lansky. In fact, shortly after the premiere in 1974, Lansky phoned Strasberg and congratulated him on a good performance. He was nominated for an Oscar for that role. Yeah. But added, you could have made me more sympathetic. Roth's statement to Corleone that we're bigger than U.S. Steel was similar to a quote from Lansky, which he said to his wife while watching a news story on the Mafia.
Right, we're bigger than United States Steel.
The character Johnny Ola, Roth's right-hand man, was inspired by Lansky's associate Vincent Allo. Oh. Additionally, the character Mo Green, who was a friend of Roth, is modeled upon Bugsy Siegel.
Obviously.
The film reflects real life in that Lansky was denied the right of return to Israel and returned to the U.S. to face charges, but invented details regarding Roth's attempts to bribe Latin American dictators for entries into their countries, as well as Roth's ultimate fate. Of course, it's a movie.
Yeah. Nicholas Roge's 1983 Eureka film, based on the story of Sir Harry Oakes. Joe Pesci plays Mayakovsky, a Lansky stand-in looking to expand his gambling empire to the Bahamas.
Pesci.
Maximilian Max Berkovich, the gangster played by James Woods in Sergio Leone's 1984 film Once Upon a Time in America, was inspired by Lansky.
I just want to watch that movie, but it's like 4 hours long, and I'm like,
and it's probably not that great.
Right. Well, probably not. But.
What are you going to do? 1990, Sidney Pollack, his film called Havana, starring Robert Redford and Mark Riddell. He plays Lansky. Mark Riddell does. Right. 1991 film called Bugsy. Lansky is a major character, obviously.
Clearly.
And he's played by Ben Kingsley.
Oh, Ben Kingsley. Isn't that the British guy?
He was nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, it's that one dude. He's in
everything.
Yeah. He was nominated for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Good for him. In the 1991 film Mobsters, he's played by Patrick Dempsey. Was that a comedy?
No.
Christian Slater, Dempsey, Richard Grieco. No thanks.
I don't think I watched it.
Probably not.
That's probably terrible.
Who the hell wants to watch Christian Slater as a gangster?
Right, or Batman. Oh, that's Christian Bale.
Right. 2002 film Undisputed. There's a character called Mendy Ripstein who reveals that he worked for Meyer Lansky. Okay.
Undisputed.
2005 film. I think it's a boxing movie.
And with Goldberg, isn't it?
No.
Or Steven Seagal.
Steven. Yeah, it's a boxing movie.
Oh, it's Wesley Snipes. Goldberg's in Undisputed too.
Are they in prison or something?
Yeah, they're in prison. Yeah. That's a good movie, though.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, it's fantastic.
In the 2005 film, The Lost City, which presents a fictionalized account of Lansky's involvement in Cuba, Lansky is portrayed by Dustin Hoffman.
2005, The Lost City, huh? No shit.
2015 film, Legend, Meyer Lansky is referred to many times and sends associate Angelo Bruno, played by Chaz Palminteri, to London.
Legend, huh? That's got to be a British movie. I think I would have seen that, 2015. Oh, Legend, really? With Tom Hardy? Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
I've always... Man, I should watch that.
Yeah. That's the one where he plays double characters.
Right.
That's that stupid...
Tom Hardy.
where he's dancing at the party. There's like memes made after it, dude.
I'm going to have to watch this damn movie now.
Like,
I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
I've always seen it, but... 2021
film Lansky, based on Lansky's life. Harvey Keitel portrays the aging gangster.
Yeah.
While John Magaro portrays him during his younger years.
Fantastic. Good movie.
Good for them.
1981 NBC miniseries called The Gangster Chronicles. The character of Michael Lasker is played by Brian Benben.
Ben.
It was based on Lansky. Because Lansky was still living at the time, the producers derived the Michael Lasker name for the character to avoid legal complications and giving Lansky any money.
All right.
1993 revival of The Untouchables. Chicago. What? There's a revival. Oh.
This is a TV series.
Oh, yep. I remember there was a TV show.
Yeah, there used to be one in like the 70s too.
Right. Okay.
Before the movie.
Yeah, the movie wasn't that great. It was all right. 1993 revival of The Untouchables. Chicago actor Mark Grapey. He played Lansky in 2 episodes.
Oh, cool.
1999 made-for-TV movie, Lansky. Richard Dreyfuss stars as Lansky. Eric Roberts as Benny. And Anthony LaPaglia as Lucky Luciano. HBO series Boardwalk Empire. Wasn't that great of a series. Meyer Lansky played a British actor called Anatole Youssef in all 5 seasons.
Meyer Lansky. Lansky has played a British actor. All right, good for him, dude.
In the Boardwalk
20
Empire.
years after he died.
Meyer Lansky is played by British actor Anatole Youssef in all 5 seasons.
Good for him.
2013 TNT series Mob City. Meyer Lansky is played by Patrick Fischler. Jeff Brain plays a younger Lansky. In 2015 AMC series The Making of the Mob, New York. Meyer Lansky is played by Ian Bell. Fantastic.
All right.
Fantastic.
Mob City. Isn't that the prequel to...
I've never seen it.
That's going to do it for us in this episode of Meyer Lansky. We saw our... got a pretty good haul out of this episode, I think.
A pretty successful non-Italian mobster.
Right, and a plus of that, we didn't have to pronounce a lot of Italian names in this one, so we avoided that. We'll probably do Anthony Strollo and Thomas Eboli. Probably we'll have a double feature on them, who were kind of active bosses in between Vito and Costello and shit. And then Phil Lombardo became the actual boss. Dude, this is ridiculous.
Right.
Became the actual boss for 20 years, and he's got 2 paragraphs on anywhere you look. So dumb.
Crazy.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But either way, we'll be back next week. We'll be back next week for some more Mafia reminder to go to Bang Dang Network, our podcast network. I guess you can call it that. And go check out our new show, According to Wikipedia.
This dude has 20 years of being the mob boss, and that's it.
Right.
Tell me, in 20 years, you can't... Wow.
Right. It's crazy. Yeah. Go check out our brand new show called According to Wikipedia, where we take random Wikipedia articles and read them so you don't have to. Right now, we are in the middle of reading about Wikipedia. And, man, do they love to talk about themselves over at Wikipedia. Because we got a part 1 episode that was about an hour, and we still got about an hour more to record of that episode. So it'll be 1 and 2, and then after that, after every episode, we'll spin a random wheel with a bunch of articles on it. Whatever it lands on, that's our next episode. So go check that out at the Bang Dang Network on YouTube.
Yeah, baby.
And on Spreaker, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Battles of the American Civil War, where we're raging on in 1863, still going, chugging along in the Civil War, and we'll be back next week for some more Mafia. We are the Mouth of Michiganders with
Bang Dang.